Morning, how you doing? Today I want to talk about the three-step path to long-term quit drinking success. This is something that I've been thinking about for um, quite a long time, and it's coming from a quote. This actually, but the process itself is, I think, it's just a three-step process that can take you to any achievement. It's very simple, it's very direct, and I think it's behind almost all success in life, especially when it comes to things like stopping drinking alcohol. Like I said, the quote is from Muhammad Ali, uh, self-styled, and he's arguably the greatest of all time in his realm, anyway. And he said, "If my mind can conceive it, and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it." And I think that's just that conception, that idea of that. There's a quote that I'll talk about at the end by a guy called Kazantzakis, and it was one of the first things that I read, one of the first quotes that I read that really impacted me when I started out on this journey first. So I'll talk about that at the end. But just that whole process of conceiving, believing, and achieving. Take the first one. Conceiving an idea. That's the general thing that has to happen before anything else. As you conceive that idea, it's a fiction that is, it only lives in your head, right? From the perspective of stopping drinking alcohol, from my perspective, it was those nights when I was lying in bed after a really, a very strong drinking session. So a lot of drink, very drunk, crashing into bed, waking up then at 4 o'clock in the morning. To give you an idea of where I am now, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning now, refreshed as an idea to get up and to get things done. Then it was, I'd get into bed maybe at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd wake up because my body would be out of the numbing phase and into the withdrawal phase of the consequences of the drinking that I'd done the night before. So I'd be laying there with the alcohol thinking, me thinking, you're going to die of a heart attack. This is something that I don't want to happen. I'm afraid at this stage. It's dark. It's quiet. There's nobody around. There's nobody I can talk to. There's no comfort there at all. I'm feeling crap. And there's something going on in my chest, which I think I'm gonna die. And in that moment, I'm thinking, I'm never going to drink again. I'm thinking about quitting then, I'm never going to drink again. And then gradually, as everyone knows, you go through the next day, and, those thoughts about quitting gradually diminish along with the pain. So it's that thinking that you've got to change, mulling over what it could be like to change. So like I said, whether you're lying in bed and you're thinking about these things, or you're thinking about what you're going to do, thinking about a certain problem that you've got, fantasizing about solutions to those problems, that's basically what you're dealing with is fantasy land at that time. You're dealing with an idea which is a fiction. And how many times have we gone through these fictions over and over and over again? Think about all the New Year's to-do lists that you've ever built. Think about all the times that you've had a hangover and you've said to yourself, I'm not going to do this again. Think about all the times you've said to yourself, I'm going to change. I'm going to make the change happen. And there's certain reasons why this happens. There's certain biological reasons, there's certain mental reasons why this happens. And there's lots of fixes for this as well, by the way. But they all require a certain level of commitment. A lot of commitment and hard work, but it's a commitment to something different. I mean, it's not for this video, but there's nothing wrong with the fantasy, right? Whenever you think about anything in the future, it's just a fiction, right? That's just the way it is. Before we move on, if you haven't downloaded or if you haven't gone over to the Quick Start Guide, there's a link down below for this. It's the Quick Start Preparation Guide. It'll help you to really see things from a different perspective, just to get some clarity on where you are, to give you some confidence that you can step across that line, or step across into the next, either to stop drinking alcohol, or to step across into that next stage that you're in, and to give you the courage to step across that way. If you want to support the channel, there's a few ways that you can do this. You can support us on YouTube by clicking on the join button below. You can also support us on Patreon. There's a link in the description down below. But, you know, as I always say, the best way that you can support us is by supporting our platform, which is www.habitsv2.com, which is that way. There, it's behind the microphone. You know, if you want one-on-one coaching with me, we've got a lot of different stuff. We've got a lot of, we've got a community over there. We've got systematic videos and videos from day one right up and through till you've finished the final year. So believing in yourself is the second concept of this. So first conceiving and then believing. Believing in the idea and also believing in yourself. And at this stage, it's still only a fantasy. You know, it's a fantasy idea. Just that belief, that self-belief, the ideas that are in your head, they're still only fictions. You know, for me, that believing stage was in, there was the time when I made the decision to stop drinking, and I was sitting on that balcony looking across at my son walking on that beach, and the time when I actually had my last drink. And that for me was a sort of a chaotic time. It was total chaos. It was just, I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. I just knew I had to do it. And there was a lot of thinking about it, a lot of fear, a lot of just different emotions that were going through my head. And yeah, it was tumultuous is probably a really good word for it. Stormy time, and it's all mental. You know, nobody else can see this happening. You know, some people close to you might recognize it in your face or your actions or whatever, but most of this stuff is going to go on in your head. But you have to understand that this is a process that you have to go through. You have to try and get yourself enough belief in yourself and in the idea that you've got, whether it's stopping drinking alcohol or making any other change, or, you know, moving forwards in your life, progressing, whatever. You have to have enough belief in yourself to take that next step. You know, to say to yourself, well, I believe I can get to a goal, which is in the distant future, and then putting yourself on that journey, right? To get to that place that's in your head, that's in your imagination, that is only a fiction, right? But the life you live is going to be always based around your strongest beliefs, right? The life you live is always going to be based around your strongest beliefs. So whatever you believe strongly enough, the strongest things that you have, your strongest values in life, that's how your life is going to lay itself out. So, you know, like I said, I believed I was a drinker for so many years. You know, beliefs then lead to easy action, because, you know, the action that you take is based upon your strong beliefs. It's based upon, you know, you can easily talk yourself into these things. And that leads us into that next phase, the achieving phase. So you believe in it, conceiving it, believing it, achieving it. And that's when you turn the fantasy into reality. You turn the fiction into real life, right? Real life, that's the problem, is you can get a certain amount of momentum going with this thing because you're still living off the fantasy. But then you get into the real life, and that's got lots of warts, and it's got lots of things that are going to jab you a little bit, kicks up the arse, a lot of punches to your ego. You know, like I said, this is, in the first 30 days, I think it's one of the easiest times, you know, the first few weeks. If you can get over the cravings and you get over that initial shock to the system, then you have to deal with reality. So, like I said, I used to believe that I was a drinker, and hey presto, that's what I was. I was a drinker. And I've got a completely different set of beliefs. And it wasn't once I got rid of the alcohol. That didn't happen. It's taken a long time for me to build up a lot of values, virtues based around those values, personal virtues, and beliefs and belief systems that then hold up who you are, that then tell you who you are, right? And it was only once I got rid of the old beliefs, and it took a while, a lot of different, you know, it took me ages to get rid of some of the old beliefs, that I was a drinker, for instance. That took me a long time. And there was a lot of other beliefs that were just sort of satellite beliefs that were hanging around that one belief, or that were older beliefs that, you know, the ones that sort of kept that drinker belief alive. Do you know what I mean? So my beliefs, your beliefs, they're going to guide you in forming every moment that you live, the moment you live now, and every moment that you live from now on and into the future. You know, and you might want to be one thing in your life, but if your beliefs are not congruent, if the ideas that you're conceiving in the first place, before you even set up your beliefs, are not congruent with that, then you're never going to get there. You know, if you can think of the idea and you can get yourself believing in yourself, if you can get yourself believing in yourself that you can do this, right, you're halfway to doing it. You're halfway to getting there. Then you take small steps and you keep it simple and you keep going like that. So at the beginning, I was talking about this quote by a guy called Nikos Kazantzakis, and he was he's an author. He's dead now, a good few years, but he wrote a famous book called Zorba the Greek, which was turned into a movie with Anthony Quinn, I think it was. It was an old movie, maybe from the 50s. But he said, by believing passionately in something which still does not exist, we create it. And the non-existent is whatever we have not sufficiently desired. That really struck a chord with me, just thinking that it was such a truth bomb, that any idea, anything that's ever been done, anything that's ever been made, you know, going back to the first guy who decided that he wanted to cook some meat on the open fire, going back to the guy who decided that fire was a good thing and that he could make fire, right? Or it could keep fire alight, or whatever, the wheel, or anything. You know, one of the things that struck me at the time when I read that quote was the, what do you call them, the little cribs that hold babies when they're premature. So the premature thing, my mind has gone blank to it. But that was, I think it was at that time when I was really, my focus of my mind was all about being a father. And it brought me back to when I saw Sean. Sean was a month premature when he was born, and he was in this crib, in this little box, tubes sticking out all over him. And it was just one of those things that really struck me at the time, that I always said to him I was going to be a good father, or the best father that I could be. And I was in a lot of ways, but in certain fundamental ways, I let him down, you know. So, like I said, from this perspective, this is another truth bomb. That is the creation, that anything you see, if you can think it, if you can desire it, and then you can believe it, then you can create it. So, the next video we're going to have is 5 changes to expect after you stop drinking alcohol for more than a month. And if you want to watch a video that is similar to this one that you might like, it's a surprisingly simple truth behind successfully quitting drinking alcohol, and that's there. So somewhere around here, you'll see it. All right, listen, take care of yourself, and I will speak to you again in the next video. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.